Hello children, I am your physics teacher Manikanda. I am started lesson number 2. Already we completed lesson number 1 and also written examination. Now we have to follow lesson number 2, unit is 2, and what are the topics we are going to see today? Addition of vectors, separation of vectors, scalar product of two vectors, vector product of two vectors, and also few more topics. And this lesson contains some solved problems. That solved problems try to solve in your classworks and bring it to school. Shall we go to the class now?
Of vectors. Since vectors have both magnitude and direction, they cannot be added by the method of ordinary algebra. Thus, vectors can be added geometrically or analytically using certain rules called vector algebra. So, in order to find the sum of two vectors which are inclined to each other, we use first one triangle law of addition method and the second one is parallelogram law of vectors. These two methods we have to use. First method, triangle law of addition method. There are two vectors, A vector and B vector, shown in the diagram. Vector A has tail and head, vector B has tail and head. So, to find the resultant of two vectors, we apply the triangle law of addition. So, A vector and B vector by the adjacent side of a triangle taken in the same order. Then the resultant is given by third side of the triangle as shown in the diagram 2.17. See this 2.17. So A vector and B vector. A vector has tail and head, and B vector has tail and head. These two vectors are inclined to each other. So tail of B vector connected to the head of the A vector. Now head of the B vector connected to the tail of the A vector. So this two vectors forms a triangular form. So we will get the resultant vector R vector is equal to A vector plus B vector. So the resultant vector we can apply that. We can get OQ vector is equal to OB vector plus PQ vector. Now we have to find out that magnitude of resultant vector. The magnitude and the angle of the resultant vectors are determined. Consider the triangle. We have to see the diagram 2.18. Then we'll easily understand this magnitude 2.18. See the diagram and consider the triangle ABN, which is supplied by extending the side OA to ON, and ABN is a right angle triangle. Now see that extend from the diagram. Cos theta is equal to AN by B. So therefore AN is equal to B cos theta, and sin theta is equal to BN by B, BN sin theta. So from OBN we have OB square is equal to ON square plus BN square. So therefore resultant square is equal to A plus B cos theta whole square plus B sin square theta whole square. So R square is equal to, we have to follow the A plus B whole square method. A square plus B square cos square theta plus 2AB cos theta plus B square sin square theta. Take out the common value, we will get R square is equal to A square plus B square into cos square theta plus sin square theta plus 2AB cos theta. We know very well cos square theta plus sin square theta value 1. So take R value only, we will get root A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta, which is the magnitude of resultant of A vector and B vector. Now we have to follow direction of resultant of vectors. If theta is the angle between A vector and B vector, then modulus of A vector plus B vector is equal to root of A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. If R vector makes an angle alpha with A vector, then in triangle OBN, tan alpha is equal to Bn by On is equal to Bn by OA plus AN. So tan alpha is equal to B sin theta by A plus cos theta. Tan alpha is equal to B sin theta by A plus B cos theta. So alpha is equal to tan inverse B sin theta by A plus B cos theta. So this solved problem you have to solve very easy using rough notes or classwork note. Solve this problem. If you do not understand, ask me. இந்த 2.1 ப்ராப்ளத்தை எக்ஸாம்பிள் ப்ராப்ளத்தை சால்வ் பண்ணுங்கள். புரியலன்னா நீங்கள் கேள்வி கேளுங்க. அடுத்த டாபிக் என்னன்னு பார்க்க போகிறோம். வாட் இஸ் நெக்ஸ்ட் டாபிக்? subtraction of vectors. How can we subtract two vectors? இப்போ தான் நம்ம addition vector பார்த்தோம். இப்போ subtraction of two vectors. ஸோ வெக்டாருக்கு magnitude and direction இருக்கிறதுனால ஸோ vectors cannot be subtracted from each other by the method of ordinary method. The subtraction can be done either geometrically or analytically. We shall now discuss the subtraction of two vectors geometrically using the diagram 2.19. So for two non-zero vectors A vector and B vector which are inclined to each other at an angle theta, the direction A vector minus B vector is applied as follow. First obtain minus B vector. The angle between A vector and minus B vector is 180 minus theta. See the diagram clearly, you can understand. Now next, the direction of two vectors easily can find out by difference. A vector minus B vector is the same as the result of A vector and minus B vector. We can write A vector minus B vector is equal to A vector plus bracket of minus B vector, and using the equation 2.1 we have modulus of A vector minus B vector is equal to root of A square plus B square plus 2AB cos 180 minus theta. So cos 180 minus theta, you should understand that minus cos theta. So therefore modulus of A vector minus B vector is equal to root of A square plus B square minus 2AB cos theta. Again from the diagram 2.19, using an equation similar to the equation 2.2, we have tan alpha is equal to B sin theta, B sin 180 minus theta by A plus B cos 180 minus theta. We know very well 180 sin 180 minus theta sin theta, hence we get tan theta is equal, tan alpha is equal to B sin theta by A minus B cos theta. So thus the difference A vector minus B vector is a vector with magnitude and direction given by equation 2.4 and 2.6 respectively. Children, solve this solved problem by using the classwork note 2.2. If you do not understand, ask me, I will explain it clearly. Now we move on next topic, vector addition by using components. Vector addition by using components. In the previous section we have learned about that addition and subtraction of two vectors using geometrical method. But once choose a coordinate system, the addition and subtraction vectors become much easier to perform. Two vectors A vector and B vector, Cartesian coordinate system can be expressed. A vector is equal to AXI vector or AXI cap plus AYJ cap plus AZ k cap. B vector is equal to BXI cap plus BYJ cap plus BZ k cap. So then the addition of two vectors is equivalent to a addition their corresponding x and y and z components. So we will take A vector plus B vector is equal to AX plus BXI cap plus AY plus BYJ cap plus AZ plus BZ k cap. Similarly, subtraction of two vectors equivalent to the subtracting corresponding x and y and z components. A vector minus B vector is equal to AX minus BX I cap plus AY minus BY J cap plus AZ minus BZ k cap. So the above rules forms an analytical way of adding subtraction of two vectors. Children, solve this example 2.4. You can easily understand. Use classwork note and solve and bring this note to the school for correction. And next is multiplication of vectors by scalar. Multiplication of vectors by scalar. A vector multiplied by a scalar lambda result in another vector lambda a vector. If lambda is positive number, then lambda a vector is also in the direction of a vector. If lambda is negative, lambda a vector is in opposite direction to the vector a. That means ஒரு வெக்டாரை அதனுடைய மேக்னடியூடால் மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணணும். அப்படி மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணும்போது நமக்கு புதுசாக ஒரு வெக்டார் கிடைக்குது. அந்த மேக்னடியூட் பாசிட்டிவாக இருந்ததுன்னு கேட்டால் டைரக்ஷன் பாசிட்டிவாக இருக்கும். அந்த மேக்னடியூட் நெகட்டிவாக இருந்ததுன்னு கேட்டால் டைரக்ஷன் ஆப்போசிட் டைரக்ஷனில் இருக்கும். திஸ் இஸ் த மீனிங். ஸோ see that a vector is equal to 2i cap plus 3j cap. What is 3a cap? So 3a is equal to 3 into already a cap. A vector is given. So multiply, we will get 6i cap plus 9j cap. A vector 3a vector is in the same direction as vector a. This is the meaning. Same as you would solve example problem 2.6. இந்த டாபிக் ரொம்ப முக்கியமான டாபிக், ஸ்கேலார் ப்ராடக்ட் ஆஃப் டூ வெக்டார்ஸ். The scalar product of two vectors or dot product vectors is defined as product of the magnitude of both vectors and the cosine angle between them. ரெண்டு வெக்டார்னுடைய மேக்னிடியூடை மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணணும். அப்புறம் ரெண்டு வெக்டாருக்கு இடையே இருக்கிற ஆங்கிளை அது காஸ் தீட்டாவை எடுத்துக்கணும். ஸோ இஃப் தேர் ஆர் டூ வெக்டார்ஸ், if there are two vectors a vector and b vector having an angle theta between them, then their scalar product is defined as a vector dot b vector is equal to ab cos theta. And here a and b are the magnitude of a vector and b vector. Properties. See the properties. If product quantity a vector and b vector is always a scalar, it is positive if the angle between the vectors is acute, that means less than 90 degree, and negative if the angle between them is obtuse, that means between 90 and 180 degree. Scalar product is commutative, that means a vector b vector is equal to b vector into a vector. Third point, the vectors obey distributive law, that means a vector dot into, that means bracket of b vector plus c vector is equal to a vector dot b vector plus a vector dot c vector. The angle between the vectors theta is equal to cos inverse bracket of a vector dot b vector by ab. Fifth point, scalar product of two vectors will be maximum when cos theta is equal to 1, that means theta is equal to 0 degree. That means when the vectors are parallel. A vector b vector maximum is equal to ab. Sixth point, the scalar product of two vectors will be minimum when cos theta is equal to -1, that means theta is equal to 180. That means a vector dot b vector minimum is equal to minus ab when the vectors are antiparallel. Seventh point, if two vectors a vector and b vector are perpendicular to each other, then the scalar product a vector dot b vector is equal to 0. Because cos theta is equal to 0, then cos 90 degree is equal to 0, then the vector a vector and b vector are said to be mutually orthogonal. Eighth point, the scalar product of vectors with itself is termed as self dot product and is given by a vector square is equal to a vector dot a vector is equal to a cos theta or a square. Here angle theta is equal to 0. The magnitude or norm of the vector a vector is equal to modulus of a vector is equal to a, or root of a vector dot a vector. Ninth point, in the case of unit vector n cap dot n cap is equal to 1 into 1 is equal to 1 into 1 into cos theta cos 0 is equal to 1. For example, I cap into I cap, j cap into j cap is equal to k cap into k cap is equal to 1. 10th point, in the case of orthogonal unit vectors I cap, j cap and k cap, I cap into j cap is equal to I cap into k cap is equal to k cap into I cap is equal to 1 into 1 cos 90 degree is equal to 0. 11th point, in the terms of components of scalar product of A vector and B vector can be written as A vector and B vector is equal to AX I cap plus AY j cap plus AZ k cap into BX I cap plus BY j cap plus BZ k cap. So AX BX plus AY BY plus AZ BZ with all other terms 0. So the magnitude of vector modulus of vector is given by modulus of A vector is equal to A is equal to root of A square x plus B plus A square y plus A z square. இந்த டாப்பிக்கில் இருக்கிற 11 பாயிண்ட்டும் 1 மார்க்கில் கேட்க வாய்ப்புகள் உண்டு. அதனால் நல்லா படிங்க. இந்த டாப்பிக்கிலிருந்து எக்ஸாம்பிள் ப்ராப்ளம் 2.7 சால்வ் பண்ணுங்கள். புரியலன்னா நீங்கள் கேளுங்க. என்னுடைய நம்பருக்கு நீங்கள் மெசேஜ் பண்ணலாம். நம்ம அடுத்த டாபிக் எங்கே போகிறோம்னு கேட்கும்போது நெக்ஸ்ட் டாபிக் இஸ் வாட் இஸ் நெக்ஸ்ட் டாபிக்? த வெக்டார்ஸ் ப்ராடக்ட் ஆஃப் டூ வெக்டார்ஸ். ரொம்ப முக்கியமான டாபிக். 5 மார்க்கில் கேட்பாங்க. அதேமாதிரி 2.5.1 5 மார்க்கில் கேட்பாங்க. மைண்டில் வச்சுங்க. அதனால தான் சொல்கிறேன் உங்களுக்கு. டெஃபினேஷன்: த வெக்டார் product or cross product of two vectors is defined as another vector having a magnitude equal to the product of the magnitudes of two vectors and the sine of angle between them. The direction of the product vector is perpendicular to the plane containing the two vectors in accordance with the right hand screw rule or right hand thumb rule. That means if A vector and B vector are two vectors, then their vector product is written as A vector cross B vector, which is a vector. C vector is defined by, that means C vector is equal to A vector cross B vector is equal to AB sin theta n cap. அதாவது ரெண்டு வெக்டார் இருக்குது, A வெக்டார் B வெக்டார். ரெண்டு வெக்டாரையும் நம்ம என்ன பண்ண போகிறோம் கேட்டினா கிராஸ் ப்ராடக்ட் பண்ண போகிறோம். அதனால் A வெக்டார் கிராஸ் B வெக்டார். இந்த ரெண்டு வெக்டார்லேருந்து மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணி கிடைக்கிற அந்த தொகையை மூணாவது ஒரு வெக்டாருக்கு சமம், அதுதான் C வெக்டார். இந்த ரெண்டு வெக்டார்ஸும் பெர்பெண்டிகுலராக இருக்குது. அதனால் இந்த ஃபார்ம் நம்ம கொண்டு வரோம். தட் மீன்ஸ் C வெக்டார் இஸ் ஈக்குவல் டு A vector cross B vector is equal to AB sin theta n cap. The direction n cap of A vector cross B vector, that means C is perpendicular to the plane containing A vector and B vector. அதுதான் நம்ம பார்க்குறோம். n cap ஓட டைரக்ஷன், அதாவது n cap is the direction of A vector cross B vector which is perpendicular to C vector அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். இப்போ நம்ம கிராஸ் ப்ராடக்ட்டு அதை பற்றி சில பாயிண்ட்ஸ் பார்க்க போகிறோம். அதெல்லாம் மைண்டில் வச்சுங்க. The vector product of A vector and B vector written as A vector cross B vector produces a third vector C vector whose magnitude is C vector is equal to A vector cross B vector. That means modulus of A vector modulus of B vector sin theta n cap. Simply it's also written as C vector is equal to A vector cross B vector. See that A vector and B vector, these two vectors are perpendicular to C vector from the diagram. The diagram வந்து பாருங்க. அப்போ A vector cross B vector is equal to minus B vector into A vector. இதை பாருங்க தலைகீழ், அதனோட இன்வர்ஸ். C vector is minus C vector is equal to B vector cross A vector. நம்ம தலைக்கீழ தம் பண்ணி பாருங்க. இந்த டயக்ராம் உங்களுக்கு பார்த்தோன்னே புரிஞ்சிடும். இதுதான் கிராஸ் ப்ராடக்ட். இப்போ நம்ம பார்க்க போகிறது ப்ராப்பர்ட்டிஸ் ஆஃப் வெக்டார் கிராஸ் ப்ராடக்ட். First point, the vector product of any two vectors is always another vector whose direction is perpendicular to the plane containing two vectors. That means orthogonal to both vectors A vector and B vector, even though the vectors A and B are may not be mutually orthogonal. ரெண்டு வெக்டாருக்கும் A வெக்டாருக்கும் B வெக்டாருக்கும் பெர்பெண்டிகுலர் C வெக்டார் இருக்குன்னு சொல்கிறாங்க, வேறு ஒன்றுமே கிடையாது. Second point, the vector product of two vectors is not commutative. That means A vector cross B vector is not equal to B vector cross A vector, but A vector cross B vector is equal to minus of B vector cross A vector. சில நான் மறுபடியும் சொல்கிறேன், இதில் இருக்கிற ஒரு பாயிண்ட்டும் 1 மார்க்கில் கேட்பாங்க, ரொம்ப முக்கியமானது. அதை நல்லா மைண்டில் வச்சிங்க. Third point, the vector product of two vectors will have maximum magnitude when sin theta is equal to 1, that means theta is equal to 90 degree. That means when a vector and b vector are orthogonal to each other. Orthogonal means perpendicular vector adunu artham. So a vector cross b vector is equal to a, b, and n cap. Fourth point, the vector product of two non-zero vectors will be minimum when modulus of sin theta is equal to 0. That means theta is equal to 0 or 180. That means a vector cross b vector minimum is equal to 0. Next point, the vector product of non-zero vectors vanishes if the vectors are either parallel or antiparallel. Fifth point, self cross product, that means a product of vector with itself is then null vector, that means zero vector. A vector cross a vector is equal to a sin 0 degree n cap is equal to 0. In physics, null vector is zero vector is simply denoted as 0. Sixth, the self vector products of unit vectors are thus 0. That means I cap cross I cap is equal to j cap into j cap is equal to k cap into k cap is equal to 0. இதெல்லாம் முக்கியமானது, மேக்ஸ்லேயே நீங்கள் வெக்டார்ஸில் படிக்கலாம். Seventh, in the case of orthogonal unit vector I cap, j cap, k cap in accordance with the right hand screw rule, I cap cross I cap is equal to k cap j cross k cap is equal to I cap, and k cap cross I cap is equal to j cap. So this diagram will shows what is given above. Since the cross product is not commutative, that means j cap cross I cap is equal to minus k cap into j cap is equal to minus I cap, and I cap cross k cap is equal to minus j cap. Eighth point, in terms of components, vector or product of two vectors a vector and b vector, a vector cross b vector is equal to ijk ax ay az bx by bz. So using this, I cap into ax bz minus az by plus j cap az bx minus ax bz plus k cap ax by minus ay bx. Note that in the jth component, the order of multiplication is different than ith and kth cap components. So ninth point, if two vectors a vector and b vector forms adjacent sides in a parallelogram, then the magnitude of a vector cross b vector will give the area of parallelogram as represented diagram 2.23. See that modulus of a vector cross b vector is equal to modulus of a vector modulus of b vector sin theta. 10th point, since we divide the parallelogram into two equal triangles, the area of triangle with the a vector and b vectors sides off into modulus of a vector cross b vectors. So this fact will be used when the study Kepler's law in lesson number 6. So in number quantities used in physics are different through the vector products, particularly physical quantities representing rotational effect like a torque, angular momentum are different through the vector products. அதாவது இதெல்லாம் நீங்கள் பின்னாடி பார்ப்பீங்க 7வது 8வது லெசனில். The torque will be r vector cross f vector, where f is the force and r is the position vector of particles. Angular momentum L vector is equal to r vector cross p vector, where p is the linear momentum. Linear velocity v vector is equal to omega vector into r vector. Omega is the angular velocity. So solve this 2.9 problem using this cross product. You can solve very easily. If you do not understand, please message me, call me. Surely I will explain. We will see the next class. Thank you very much.